When my family was going through a really difficult time, one of the things my husband said was, "Don't worry, it'll soon be over." And he was telling me about a story of somebody who was falling out of a plane and the parachute wouldn't open, and they were saying, "Don't worry, it'll soon be over, like you're soon going to die." And I thought, gosh, that's the most morbid way to say that something is, going to be over. But as morbid as that sounds, it's kind of like, well, what are you so afraid of? Because at the end of our life, right, we're all going to die. It's like none of us are going to get out of this life alive unless you're caught up in the rapture, which I believe some of us will be. It's a perspective of what are you so fearful of, and what are you so in a hurry to get to? Are you so in a hurry to get to the end of your life? Are you just mindlessly going through life because there's no purpose attached to anything, and you're scared, and there's fear, and there's fear of the unknown, and there's fear of the future? But when you really start thinking about it, it's like, what are you so afraid of? And I had to really get to that point of, there are people that have spent their life preparing and have lost everything. They've spent their life sowing and investing and building a house and building a business and building life, and they're building, 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 building. And in one moment, they could lose everything to a sickness or to a business loss or to some unfortunate event. There's so many different things that could happen, that everything that you're building could be gone in an instant. And when you keep the perspective of you're not going to get out of here alive, it just keeps things in a little bit better order. It helps you clear, like, if you're scared to make a move, you're scared to make a bold decision, you're scared to start that business, because you're fear of losing it. You're scared to do all these things. Those things can happen anyways. But would you rather live in regret or live in fear of failure? Because a lot of times things don't happen the way we want them to happen anyways, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try or you shouldn't go after it. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't proceed and grow and develop and do the things that God's called you to do. It takes money and it takes resources to do things, to develop, to grow businesses, to just enhance your life. It's just part of the deal. Is you can't live in fear because you don't know if you'll have enough in the future. And I think that when fear controls your decisions and fear controls things, you're living in the opposite of faith, because fear tolerated is faith contaminated. So you can't live in both at the same time. You have to choose which one is going to direct you and lead you. And the Bible says that faith without action is nothing. So you can say, yeah, I have so much faith, but then you're moving in fear. So really you don't have faith. And fear can look like, a lot of times it's what I can do. Okay, I have fear in my employer. I have faith in my employer. I have faith in my 401k. I have faith in my own abilities. I have faith in all these things. And you can have confidence in those things. But if that's where your faith is, you're going to be let down, because we're all, when you have those expectations, you're going to be let down. The only person who doesn't let you down is God. This is why I stay so close to Jesus in everything, and I constantly have to shift myself back, because we're human and we go into, well, what if this and what if that and what if this? Yeah, what if? What if that happens? What if it doesn't happen though? So you're living in one or the other. So you can't live in the contradiction and then say you have faith when you're living in the contradiction of it. And your choices and everything are in the contradiction of it. It becomes so clear when you start realizing, whoa, my habits are developed from a place of fear, or a place of like not knowing or not having enough, or a place of poverty thinking. It's like people that have gone through the Depression, when they had to scrape the butter off of the last bit of butter, and they had to save every little thing, that they carried that fear into their whole life. I know, because my grandparents were that way. They carried the fear into their whole life, even if they didn't have to anymore. They didn't have to live that way anymore. My grandma would give herself a sponge bath, with a washcloth or a sponge, because she didn't want to use the water. She was so fearful of wasting the water that she would do a sponge bath and only shower once a week, because that's what she had developed. It was so strong, it was almost hard to break. Now, is it good to be frugal in some areas? Yeah, you don't want to be all crazy and reckless because somebody's paying for your recklessness, right? Somebody's going to pay for that, and nothing is free. But moving in such a fearful way can really, really keep you from having God's best because you're limiting your own self. He's not limiting you, you're limiting yourself. So you basically create a scenario that maybe doesn't even exist anymore. Just because it exists in your imagination or it exists in an experience that you had in the past, and what you're doing is you're creating a box and saying, well, this is how it has to be because I'm too scared to go beyond that. Like you're too scared to give up everything. You're too scared to move forward. You're holding on to something. I see a lot of women, they're holding on to things of their past, either because of one, fear of the future, or two, there's a fear of an attachment to that thing. They think if they let go of this thing, there's a fear in that. Like, well, what if I need it? Or what if the person who gave it to me finds out? Or there's like, it's almost like there's an emptiness created when they let go of that. There's a hole created when they let go of that. And I get it because there's some things that I love more than others that I'm like, oh, I don't want to ever get rid of that. But you have to put things in order of what do you want more? Do you want more freedom? Do you want an elevated life? Do you want to live to your fullest, or do you want to live in fear and never make that move? Because the opportunities they come, but they go. And somebody else will snag that opportunity if you don't snag it, if you're not prepared to go in and snag it. So it's a balance of being bold and moving with faith, and being reckless means you have no discernment, no wisdom. You're just like, ooh, this sounds like a good deal. A lot of times the recklessness comes from an ego, or it comes from wanting to feed yourself. It comes from gluttony. It comes from these sinful desires. These are sinful things that you end up feeding, and those things grow more. So you have to have discernment on what is the push behind the decision that you're making. What is pushing you? Is it godly discernment? Is God telling you, have faith and move forward boldly and confidently? Move forward and take the territory that I've had for you. You've been preparing this whole time, and now I want you to go in and take it. And if you don't go in and take it, someone else is going to go in and take it. And this I laid up for you for such a time as this. Go in and take it. That's why the preparation stages are so important. It's the building, it's the little things every single day that builds up to that moment when God says, okay, you're ready, go take it. I've been refining you for the past year or however long. Now is your time. Go forward, daughter. Go forward, son. I have this for you. But if you're just recklessly doing things whenever you want, he wants to build your faith and refine you at the same time. Refine your character, your standards. Everything has a purpose to it, and you have to allow that process to happen, which means you have to let go of the old ways that are not serving you, like holding on to the old things, the old ideals that you're like, no, it must be this way. You know, I know so many people that think they have to live a certain way, or it's like there's no other way. You know, I had people tell me, you know, you're renting, why don't you own a home? Well, I'm not in a position to buy a home. I prefer renting until I know exactly and I'm prepared for that point. Now, I did own a home before, and you know, I have a long story about that and how I spent a lot of time on the home, and I personally felt like I wasted some really great years of my life on that home. And then we sold it, and I could have been, if I were renting and not working on the home and not working on the yard and not working on everything that the house needed and fixing the AC and waiting for people to come and do this and do that and not stressing over how ugly the kitchen was and you know, how I needed to fix this and needed a new roof and the location I hated. So all of those things robbed me from the time that I could have had with my kids when they were babes. I mean, now, I did spend time with them, and I did do that, but when you look back, you think, you know, you're buying time. That's what I prefer. I like to buy time instead of sell time. And you're always trading your time for something, right? You're trading your time for something. So and your time is life. That's your life. You can't get it back. So you have to get to the point where you're like, what am I trading my time for, and how do I want to live? And get so crystal clear on the life that you want to create for yourself. And one of the hardest things to do is to create that life, even if your physical isn't there yet. Because we're living in the residual of our past choices, right? Your physical might, I'm looking at a lizard right now. There's been a lot of lizards out lately. Anyways, you're living in the physical, right? But that doesn't mean that that's the truth. That just means that this is what you're experiencing right now. And it's hard to hold on to the vision. This is why it takes work to hold on to that vision of what you want and where you want to go, because you're pulling that future into the present. You're pulling that future self into the present. You're seeing yourself with that now. You're seeing it now, not 10 years from now. You're seeing it now. What does that person, what does that person have to do? What do I have to become? What do they think like? What's their day-to-day look like to achieve that? And most of the times it's the boring things done every single day consistently that develop those habits. It's eating the same every day consistently. It's taking the work, the guesswork out of, what should I eat? Well, you already have it ready or prepared so you know what to eat. You're developing habits that are going to serve that future self, and it's going to bring that future self quicker. The more that you do that, the easier it is. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, what if my spouse doesn't want to do that? Well, sometimes you have to become the person in the marriage that you want them to be. You have to become that. Instead of pausing and waiting for them to be ready, you have to do it. A good example might be, because I listen to Dave Ramsey a lot, is one person wants to get out of debt and one person doesn't. They want to keep the credit cards and they think it's just for an emergency. They want to keep it. And it's usually the wife. She's like, I got a plan, I got a budget, I want to get out. And the husband's like, well, no, he's comfortable and he likes having this and so the problem is there's like a disconnect there and she starts resenting him. Well, a lot of times when Dave tells him, do it anyways. Do what you have to do anyways. And it just might happen that other person starts feeling the liberation, being like, oh, wow, I do feel better, and they'll get on board. But that doesn't mean you stop and wait for them if you know it's going to lead your family to freedom. That's the goal. Get your family to freedom. A wife, and that's another thing too, is, well, the wife's supposed to submit to the husband. Not if he's going in the wrong direction. Not if he's not submitted to God. If he was submitted to the Lord, he'd be going in the right direction. If he's submitted to his ego, you don't need to submit to that. You handle things. If he's driving a car off a cliff, you don't sit in the passenger seat and go, well, he's leading us and I'm the wife, so I better submit. Okay, honey, whatever you say. No, you grab that wheel and say, we're not allowing you to take us off a cliff in whatever, thing. And if the husband is continuously doing that, you got to put the brakes on and say, this is not working. We are not going to live this way. A lot of times men are more risky because of ego than women are. Women are usually the more like, well, let's back up and see. Not all the time, but most of the time, it's easier for a man to do a big, oh yeah, dude, let's do this, let's invest in this, like day trading, and this person's got this, it's so big, and fast, quick money, and buying, selling properties. There's always something hidden in there. Nothing is as it seems. Nothing. You always have to look at the small print. Why is that person selling their business? Oh, well, they're making this much a year, and the business nets this, and this is their revenue, and they've been in business. Okay, well, why are they selling? They want to retire. Is that it? Is that the only reason they want to retire? Or is there another reason that you don't know? And that's where the wife comes in, because the Bible says the wife is the helpmate. She's there to help assess these things, and the wife can see so many more things. She's got intuition that the husband doesn't have. He's very like black and white, this looks good. Looks good, it must be good. This food looks good, it must be good. And she's like, no, did you turn the box around and see all the ingredients in it? I don't care how it tastes. There's tons of terrible ingredients in it. So it's two of you working together, right, to have all of that elevated culture that you want in your house. And if one person is not on board, then you do what you have to do regardless. You go forward regardless. Because the time's passing. Anyways, it's passing. You can't get that back. You're going to grow older. Things are going to happen. Life happens. Your kids are always in a different stage. It's up to you to not play in a passive stance, but get more aggressive. Don't sit and wait for things to happen, but create those things. If you want a different life, you have to create it. And this is where you have to be in charge of the fear. Sometimes there's an assessment, okay, that could be an indicator of maybe there's no peace moving in this direction. That's not fear. That's you discerning, this is not the direction we need to go in. I don't have peace about it, right? You want to have peace and move. The Bible says, let peace be the umpire, meaning that's going to call the shots. Is there spiritual peace in that direction or not? Otherwise, don't go. If you don't have that, if you've got that gut feeling, that's not fear. Fear is what if this, what if that. You could talk yourself out of it, and people could have. I listened to a lady who called into Dave Ramsey, and she was in her 60s. She paid off her house, and all her friends were like, "That was so stupid. What are you going to do? You don't have a retirement." Come to find out, she's got like $1 million in the safe. She's got so much money, it's insane. I'm thinking, this lady has so much anxiety, and she kept saying, "Well, my family says, my friends say this, and now I'm scared," because she's listening to all the wrong voices of people who don't have what she has. And he's like, you are, and she had $7,000 a month coming in. It's like you have more than enough, but yet she lived in fear. She had so much anxiety about a situation that didn't even exist that it was robbing her life at the time. It was robbing the current self. And on top of it, she was going through cancer, and maybe that's why she had fear. But she was in this state of anxiety this whole time. Actually, I think she was like coming out of cancer battle after 8 years. So that probably had a lot to do with it. But the anxiety that she had for a situation that didn't even exist was controlling her decisions. And then listening to her friends tell her how foolish she was made it even worse. And I'm thinking, we could live our lives having so much anxiety over things that don't even exist, right? It didn't even happen. Didn't even exist. It doesn't happen. It's only happened in our mind. And Alex Hormozy talks about that when he was a germaphobe in an 8th grade camp or something, and he was so worried about germs. And then he was in the wilderness, and there was nothing he could do. And he was like, well, either these germs are going to kill me or they're not. And then he waited. He waited to get sick. He waited. Nothing happened. Weeks later, nothing happened. And he realized, I'm at a young age, he realized this, that he was living in a fear of something that didn't even exist, because he had taken that and made it a truth for his life. And then he lived out that truth, and it stops us from doing what we're called to do. And the quicker we can break out of that fear cycle, the quicker we can have the liberation and run our race. You can't run your race if you have fear all the time. The other thing is, most of the stuff that we have fear of is from the news feeding us propaganda that doesn't even exist. It's all lies anyways. Nothing is as it seems anyways. None of it. It's misconstrued, it's twisted, it's them fear-based propaganda. They want you to think a certain way, to live a certain way, to then do something. They're feeding the fear, and then they're feeding the solution. Nothing is as it seems. I mean, the guy who was taking a video on the cruise boat who said, "We just want to be free," for the virus that was found on the cruise boat. That's the same guy from 4 years ago. He's hired to do those things. He's in a video 4 years ago from COVID. "We just don't want this." They hire these people to do those things. So we have to snap out of this. Nothing is as it seems anyway. So you might as well live your life and run your race and do what God's called you to do, and stop letting fear mongers get into you and say, "You can't do this, you can't do that, we're not going to get out of this life alive anyways," right? So go after your dreams. Don't wait for the perfect time. Perfect time never comes. You make it. You have to make it now. Wear the nice clothes. Get rid of the old junk. Put on the nice clothes. Eat the healthy food. Use the nice dishes. Stop saving things just in case. Use those things now. Create that life now. Create your home. I don't care if you're in a big home or a small home or an apartment. You can create an environment and an atmosphere right now with where you live. You can create a culture within your home with what you have. It doesn't cost millions of dollars. You can do it right where you're at. If you can let go of the old junk in the decorating world, my advice is, if you're surrounded by a bunch of cheap dupes, cheap dopamine, I would get rid of all that, because it's going to remind you that you're this cheap dopamine trend tracer. And replace it with one thing that you really love, because that'll remind you go after the best. You love the best, and the best loves you. Not, "Oh, I have all these cheap, great deals." I'm surrounded by great deals. I'm surrounded by great sales and great stuff and cheap stuff and thrifted stuff and stuff that could be worth something and that wasn't. And, "Oh, I found this before somebody else found it at the thrift store." You're surrounding yourself with a fear-based living by thinking you're winning, by being suffocated in your own home with all of this stuff. Just snap out of that. Get rid of the garbage and the junk and the clutter, and give yourself that space to come up higher, to live an elevated life, no matter how big your place. He doesn't need a big place. You don't need all that. Now, if you want that, fine, that's great. But this is for the women who are really struggling and who are living in fear. They're stuck in their home. They consume, they buy all the fear-based stuff because they're scared. Pause, breathe, and stock up on water or things that you feel might be that you need. But don't let fear control you and steal your life. Follow the Lord and his plans for you. Let him breathe his confidence in you so you can see clearly and discern clearly. This is also why eating healthy food, eating healthy food lets you think clearer. You're smarter. You have more wisdom. You can connect more. People think this is all like foo-foo. It's not, because the more toxic chemicals in your body that your body has to deal with, the more garbage you use. This is why the Bible says your body's a temple, because it connects you to God quicker and easier when it's cleansed. There's a clear connection. It's not all fuzzy with all these toxins and chemicals. Your brain can't function properly if your body's full of garbage. It's so important to cleanse this so you can think clear. And I talked about before when I did a liver detox, and I detox the liver because the liver's the mothership. All the toxins go through it. If your liver's not functioning, you're full of toxic chemicals, metals. You got to get that stuff out. So when I did a liver detox, one of the biggest things that I noticed was I could think clear. I was super sharp. I could think clear. I was on it, like to the point of like, woo, I am like zoomed in. I could do math problems quicker. And I did a 3-month liver detox, and it was crazy. I was cleansing my liver. And I also haven't touched alcohol in 18 months or something. Alcohol is a poison. It's toxic. That is going to mess up so many different areas because your body has to remove this stuff. You've got to get those detox pathways open. Rebounding, sauna, walking. Get those detox pathways open so you can move with clarity. And you're not all like, well, I have so much anxiety. What do you have anxiety about? Everything that's going on? Choose not to get clarity, get grounded, get wisdom. The Bible also says, ask for much wisdom as you need. Ask for wisdom in these situations. Sometimes we think, oh, God, give us wisdom. And he's like, quit eating garbage. What? Was that you, God? Yeah, quit treating your body like a garbage dump. You better repent for that and stop doing that. You want wisdom? Well, you better get this in order. You want to take territories? You can't put away your shoes. You want to have a big business, but your sink's full of dishes. You want all this stuff, but you complain about what I already gave you. Get these things in order. That's usually what it is. When we're praying, God, help us. Okay, well, steward what I gave you, because God's not going to multiply dysfunction. He is not going to bless dysfunction. He's going to bless order and ownership and stewardness. He's going to bless those things. So handle what you have before you ask him for more, before you go after more. Get things in order. Anyways, I hope this message blesses you.